Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Cabin Fever Crochet with me, Helene. As promised, I put together a tour of the changes at Hobby Lobby in their craft departments, and I hope you will enjoy the program that I have put together for you today. I will be spending a little more time in the yarn department since that is what my channel is mostly about. However, if you are more interested in other departments versus some, well then I have a timestamp in the drop-down description section that says where each department is. And let me know what you think. Do you like the changes? Are you happy with your craft departments? Are you done with Hobby Lobby, or are you going to continue hanging in there and see what changes might come about in the future? Either way, just know how much I appreciate you being here, your input, feedback, and any inside information. It was all so very interesting and entertaining. And please remember to hit that notification bell for reminders of my future uploads. Consider subscribing if you are enjoying my content, and a thumbs up is always appreciated. Okay, you ready? Here we go. I'm in. A little bit excited and a little nervous too. All right, well, if you go look straight to the back against the wall, to the left and a little to the right is where the yarn was and the fabric now is. And this section here to the left and right there as we move along, you can see that is a pretty nice section of floral. Lots of home decor all around, and straight to the back, this aisle right here, several back, can't see it because it goes real deep. That's where the jewelry making supplies, leather, t-shirts, paint by numbers, all those types of items are. And what I'm going to do is I will start back at the fabric, next the yarn department, and work my way around. And here, as you go past the clocks, that is the main part where I came from to the right, where the colorful rack is on the right and where this blue card is coming. That's the registers to the right where you can't see past that wall. And then you can't even tell how deep this goes because there's another partition where they have decor hanging, and beyond that is a whole nother section in the front and all the way to the left to the back. And that area is all filled with a variety of home goods where I don't venture unless I need to use the restroom. And now moseying my way back to the fabric department, which does look either more spread out, more organized. I don't know, it looks a little bit bigger to me. So I would love it in the comment section if you all are familiar, have shopped in the fabric department before, how it compares to your store, and what it looked like before, how it compares to mine. Now the thread in the far left corner really caught my eye. Besides the beautiful colors, the spool looked to me just like Gutermann thread, or there's another brand, Swiss brand, can't think of the name of it, but very similar quality. So I don't know if this is a new line for Hobby Lobby. It is their brand, the Sewology, but it says made in Europe on the bottom. So if anyone knows, is this new? Have they had it for a while? And if you've used all three that I mentioned, how does this compare to the other two? Then heading to the right towards yarn, here's an end cap rack that has a lot of cording, embellishments. To the left, the other aisle, that is trim, and as you can see, a lot of ribbon, 2 aisles. And then behind me, the direction from where I came, just past the fabric, that tall rack, that has a lot of different types of notions, scissors, that type of thing. And then the patterns are back, yay. So I'm really glad to see that. And now moving further back, just before the yarn, here is that beautiful selection of thread and the DMC that a lot of people were asking and talking about. And here we go, entering the yarn department where my heart tends to skip a little beat. Well, here are accessories, part of them because I have to work around the people that are in the store to not get them in camera, so I will go back to that in a moment. But at quick glance, you can see the bags, the looms, various up on top, pom-pom makers, stitch markers, that type of thing. Here, thread, lots of thread on top. There are a variety of gauges of macrame yarn. And then on the bottom, the boxes of the variety packs and smaller skeins of the I Love This yarn. And they had I Love This cotton on yarn also. Here's some clearance boxes of the Artiste thread yarn, which I really like. It's an Egyptian cotton, so I hope they're not clearancing that out. It looks like they have the same similar line in others, and maybe they're just clearancing out the boxed packs. I don't know. I did not get any. I have more than enough that I will probably ever work with in my lifetime. And lots of hooks, needles. They look the same to me as before. Maybe they've clearanced out a few. I didn't really notice myself. Okay, fiber enthusiasts, here we go. Are you holding your breath? I know I was. Into the heart of what's left, yes, what's left of the yarn department. First thing I noticed was, yes, the yarn department did shrink in aisles, but it went up in height by at least 1 row, and it is pretty tall. So for all you shorter folks out there, when you go yarn shopping, you might want to bring some hand gripper grabbers with you. First up on the left, there is Stork Struck. So they kept that, discontinued one color, really pretty plum, that I thought would work back well to the stripy ones down below, but oh well, that's gone. Couple new colors, it looks like, in that pretty olive green and the blush color. I like this yarn. It works back well to Caron by Yarnspirations, the Cotton Cakes. Even though the Cotton Cakes is thinner, this one's a little thicker. This is a viscose cotton blend, whereas the Cotton Cakes are cotton acrylic, but they work together, say, if you want a more substantial base to a bag or the trim on a more structured hat. They really pair quite well together, and I've used them in that way several times, like with my baseball cap hat and a tote bag. And so now we have some of the blanket type yarn, the little bit thicker ones, the Baby Sweet Delight. So it looks like this section is filled with a lot of the baby type, as you can kind of see with the colors, but I think they could of course be used for other things too. I'm sorry I'm not closer on these. I was just trying to pay attention to my whereabouts, anyone that might be around me, and to go slow, and so I can give you just a good overview of everything. So I hope that you're seeing that okay. Next down the line on the same side, there is the Soft and Sleek DK, couple of empty spots. So it looks like some of that is staying, perhaps a couple more colors coming in. And there is the Yarntopia, beautiful colors. It's a very, very soft yarn. It is 100% acrylic and a very lightweight yarn. I think it's just lovely. It has a nice hand, a nice feel to it, but it is acrylic. And of course I'm disappointed because they did take away all of the natural fibers that I really liked, and the more finer weights as well, except for one, and we'll see that around the corner. And you probably saw the glowing yarn that was on the very bottom. Hobby Lobby's had that for a long time. They kept about 4 colors. And then here is the Flawless yarn, low pile acrylic, or low pill, excuse me. And it just seems like acrylic over and over tends to be the theme. I know it's a lot more inexpensive to produce and to purchase, I'm sure, wholesale. So it seems that's the trend. There's the Yarn ID. I like the soft muted colors myself. And there's the Soft Secret and all the usuals that they've had before. And that yarn as well. I've not really worked with it too much, once or twice, so I can't tell if they're new colors or not, but those of you who have used it would know. It does appear that to me. I think they're very beautiful, so I do look when I go by from time to time. And this is Pearly Spun. Very pretty colors, but nothing as far as that's real different to me in the way of replacing anything. So with the ones that they took away. So those of you who had that inside info, yes, you're quite correct on that. I know there's just so much conflicting and contradicting information out there, and even people that were kind enough to share what they knew about it had different information as well. So I guess we're all just really finding out now at my store, and as you go into yours, what's what. So these are a lot of the regulars that they had, the Soft and Sleek yarn in a variety of colors. I'm not Maybe that one's new, that kind of blue and berry color. I'm not so sure. And then the soft stitch, this one caught my eye and I was hopeful, but again, it's 100% acrylic, and nothing wrong with the good acrylic. I really appreciate them as well. I'm not knocking that or your choices in yarn, just stating what my personal preference is, which also varies with the season of each year. But the prices I noticed did go up on some, still very reasonable, especially with the sales. And this rustic romantic, I am so drawn to, and it is acrylic with 19 or 15% hemp. It's not coarse as I might expect from hemp, but I think that could make some very interesting projects. And then we've got the sugar wheel acrylic on the bottom, and this is all scrubby yarn on the end cap here. And going on to the next aisle, the end cap, they have, it's called True Colors. This seems new or new-ish to me, but I am so drawn to those blush and those rose tone colors. It's really catch my eye, along with the many others too, but I'm always drawn to those. And that is more of a bulky, I think it says a super bulky 6, but when I pressed on it a little bit, it seems like it compresses some. It reminds me a little bit of Hometown, but nicer and not as bulky, and I don't think it separates as easy either. So here we have a long, huge wall, top to bottom, or aisle rack of all the I love this yarn, and that's always a good staple, like I said, a good acrylic. And I've noticed that some are softer than others, so I assume that has to be the dyes, but the prints seem to be softer than the regular. It just really varies. Have you noticed that as well? And here is the sugar wheel cotton, and the solids are gone. I thought those were going to be a huge hit because it's so nice to be able to border and have even one whole entire piece in a solid color if you're not into the self-striping. And they have very few colors now, and some of them are extremely muted and even leaning to me towards more fall colors. And see, there's some very muted, and seems to be a theme in a lot of these, and you'll see as we go along that I noticed. And there are only one or two sparkles, and that's it. And then this yarn, the cotton to the right, the XXL, they kept some of the prints in that and some of the solids, which I'm glad to see. It's 100% cotton, and that is terrific for a kitchen or a bathroom rug where you want absorbency or any type of project like that. And right in front of me, the finer yarn, that is the Bambootiful. It's a bamboo cotton blend, I believe it is, or bamboo viscose. I've not used it. It is very soft and silky. And here is quite a bit now of the I love this cotton. So the gal at my store was correct in that. A few colors went and some came back. Looks like a very vibrant blueberry color on the right. And I'm glad they kept that. Oh, I think it's Paris, something in Paris just to the left of it. That is has been one of my favorites for a long time. So I see that they have kept many of them in, and I really do love this cotton a lot. I've used it for many years now. And so this fundamental cotton, this is a mercerized cotton, and it seems like quite a nice one. I've been tempted to try, if I didn't already have a drawer full of the Lion brand 24/7, which has been my go-to for my baseball cap hat, as well as the Karen Cotton Cakes, just offering two different styles. At first glance, it looked like mostly bulky type of yarns, winter, cooler weather. They're calling this ethereal eyelash. It doesn't look much like a traditional eyelash to me, but it does have those longer fiber resembling hair type bits on it. And the lights come on as I see the authentic line. This looks quite pretty. Interesting color combinations, I will say that. Not sure what happened there. It looks like they're only going to have 8 different colors, and it's all the same, the 100% superwash merino in the fingering weight. So we have no other weights, no medium weight, no chunky weight in that, and they took away the blend, which I really loved, with that bit of viscose or tencel from either bamboo or beechwood that made it incredibly soft. Now this one's pretty. To me it looked like the Northern Lights, Aurora Borealis, and sure enough it's named Myriad Lights. And I love speckles. Speckles always get me every time. So that's something that I think I would enjoy. But I have noticed that they took off the hang tags, as you can see, and the price went up by $2. So instead of $14.99 regular price, it is now $16.99. See what I mean though about all these muted neutral colors? All right, so moving on, we've got, oh, what is that? The velvet type yarn, and just mostly what they had before, the I Love This Chunky yarn. Here's the Tender Touch. They've had that for a while. If you like it, it's still here. And I suppose these heavier yarns are going to be for the more fall and winter, so having the muted colors for the most part do make sense for that. And then they have some of the kind of the homespun type yarns equivalent, and the Effortless Bulky, which is the acrylic alpaca blend. And then we get into the really jumbo type of yarn and the loopy, where you hand or crochet with your fingers, no tools needed. And that, my fiber friends, is the yarn department as we see it on this trip. What they are putting into that space behind me, I have no idea. I'll check the next time I am down that way. I did notice online that there is still a lot out of stock, and that hasn't been updated yet either as of today. So maybe, I'm still hoping, holding out a little hope, they will be bringing some more in to fill that area, or at least part of it. But I am already exploring other options, and I will get back with you on that too. Okay, moving on down to the paper crafts section, and I'm going to do an overview of that as well. Wow, those are a lot of containers, plastic containers in many, many colors. That's interesting. So much of one thing taking up so much space, which again is contrary to what I was led to believe. Now these, even though I know where they're made, not so thrilled about that, but really this was well thought out, and it's compact and has just about everything. Different types of sewing pins, push pins, thread, pin cushion, scissors, measuring tape, thimble. Wow. And they're 2 different sizes. The bottom ones, they're a little bit smaller. The pack's $7.99, and the top, I believe, are $10.99. Oh joy, here we go. Home goods, lamps, lots and lots of lamps. Okay, not where I would buy mine, but whatever. Okay, so now we're going into the paper crafts. Yes, and those of you who are really into it, and I was at one time, and I still rubber stamp some, but not to the degree I did more than 10 years ago. But yes, just like you've said, they took away the dyes that you enjoyed, and they brought in the sublimation, and there's the Cricut products. Wow, it goes, both sides, from one end down to the other. And looks like quite a range of supplies for it also. And actually those kind of scraper squeegee types can be used for a variety of paper applications, or I suppose baking in a pinch if you need it. And a nice sale, 40% off the Happy Planner and all Paper Studio products. So we have these packs, multi-packs on the end cap here, and these would be for making your own greeting cards and such. Rounding the corner, we have the rubber stamps and other embellishments, accessories, and so forth. And this only 3 racks on this. I'm glad that it's still alive and people still do it, but those of you really back in the day when it was so popular, we had such a range of stamp companies, Stampendous, Hero Arts, a lot of independent ones. Does anyone remember Stampscapes? They were amazing. How about the Rubber Cafe? Ever heard of that one? Okay, so now these stamps, see, this is one that I would purchase if I were buying more, but I have so many still, even though I let go quite a few when we relocated. But this is now, every one of the stamps are Hobby Lobby's own line, and this is made in Vietnam. It does feel of maple hardwood, and it's very smooth. It's fairly deeply etched, not the deepest I've seen, but it's nice. And it's the pink rubber, not the red. It is nicely scroll cut. You have, it looks just about maybe almost a 1/4 inch of the foam cushion, and it is well aligned, the image on the top with the rubber itself, which is very, very important, as those of you know who do this type of craft. All right, so let's take a look at what they have to offer, and you let me know, please, what they used to have, what they kept. Well, I see why they don't have any other brands of stamps, because get a load of these prices at $3.99 for this size. There's no way that any other companies in this country could possibly compete with that. All right, so before I get on my soapbox on that score, let's move on and take a look at the ink pads first. Okay, so they do have some StazOn down there, the middle left, and that's a good product. And I see that they have some rainbow pads. Glad to see those are still in. Oh, there's Hero Arts. Well, that's good. Hero Arts has been around a long time. They're one of the first rubber stamping companies, and I have quite a few. They're out of California, Richmond, California, and I believe this is made in Mexico. Okay, yes, there it says. Oh, no, made in the USA. Good. Assembled in Mexico. Isn't that how odd, really, that it's more cost effective to make it here, send it to another country, assemble it, and bring it back. But anyway, it's a good product. I would probably still buy it. And I do really like the Kaleidacolor ink pads, and I do believe that Joanne carries those. So they actually have quite a nice assortment of the archival ink pads, the permanent, the alcohol-based, the dye-based, and the pigment-based. So you have a variety. Now this is a permanent, so a variety of options and applications depending on what you're going to use that for. So the permanent by Sukaneko, Japanese company, you can do watercolor on top of, and it's not going to bleed out. The pigment, that's where it's sticky and it stays wet for a while, so you can do embossing and other types of, even maybe chalk over top of that. And the dye inks are great for variety, and then those you can do blending with too, with watercolor. So, and that's the pigment ink, and those little petals actually slide. You can see that on the picture on the left. They slide and pop out, so you can use them individually or all together to get a rainbow effect on your rubber stamp. Here are the embossing powders I mentioned. It's funny because I have a bigger collection for my own than Hobby Lobby does here for sale, but I probably have more than I need anyway. But really, it's such a fun effect. You get metallics, you can get all different types of textures to give a nice raised effect for your stamped images or lettering with the use of a heat tool. And I see they have the Ranger alcohol inks on the right, and some Tim Holtz still with Ranger. There's some steampunk inspired embellishments, accessories. The Paper Studio, which I believe is a Hobby Lobby brand. They have their layering pieces for doing vintage inspired type of paper arts. And then different types of markers, pens, tags for just doing layering, stamping on them, creating a lot of different layers and interests and effects. Wow, that's kind of surprising. They only have one size and type of roller. Looked like almost a sponge type to me. Usually I see more of a harder type of rubber and then a sponge type, because each one creates different effects and different sizes for different size stamps. But I'm sure you can find those online. Hey, this is something new to me that I didn't know was still on the market. It's made a comeback doing wax seals. Oh, how exciting. This must be popular because wow, all these wonderful colors, so many beautiful metallics. Oh, if I had a mind to, I could go a little nuts with those. Okay, and then down the rest of this aisle, more embellishments and a lot of card making supplies. All right, so now let's go over to more of the paper craft section. Over here, a whole entire row, top to bottom, of various scrapbooks and planners, all the way down the aisle, various sizes and styles, and lots of decorating packs that include both lettering and images and all types of themes. And looks like we have, I don't know, those stickers, some stickers over here, or maybe more of those packs. I have a thing for stickers. What about you? Does anybody out there like stickers too? Okay, rounding the corner. Oh, I see all types of things. Well, here are the stickers. Okay. Oh boy. All right. Film, Helene, film. Not shopping today. But that is quite a selection. So it looks like we have more of the printed type on one side and 3D on the other. And these are really, I used to use these quite a bit, double-sided foam tape in various thicknesses where you can add different embellishments to that, different types of glitter, all kinds of things that you can put on those. And they're also good for adhering embellishments too. Washi tape. Now this is something when I was really into rubber stamping that was not available, but I can see where it can be very time saving, and you can just put those to add on borders and decorate and frame edges, corners, photos, that type of thing. This is the largest and nicest selection of washi tape that I've seen. Doesn't mean that there aren't others out there, just what I have seen myself. So they really do have a nice variety. Oh, that could be so fun for the person who's into that. Here we go. Such an array, amazing array of stickers, and more stickers, and all shapes, sizes, and dimensions, colors. I think just about anything that you can imagine. Those little dots you see, they're like faux jewels. You can really dress up. You can put them in the center, say a dragonfly, a butterfly, into their wings. Look at her hair. You see that? You can create your own or buy one pre-made. How fun. Now, it's been a very long time since I've purchased decorative paper, only because I still have quite a bit from years ago, and it's a very good quality. When I had my own rubber stamp company, I was able to order wholesale because I used to decorate and make sample cards for the stores with the rubber stamps that I had for sale, which was so fortunate to work with a lot of different artists from around the world, and I both licensed and commissioned artwork, and it was a small rubber stamp company. And that's why I'd asked if any of you are still watching, if you remember the Rubber Cafe from 1998 to 2008. That was me before I did sell it, and she went all acrylic at that point, and at that time I had nothing to do with it. But anyway, here we have some punches, different types. I used to have quite the collection myself, and they're made in China, but I had the decorative ones, and then this one I actually think I'm going to get because it's more of a needle nosed, and I use those because I make my own jewelry earring cards, and I use that hole punch for the ear wires. But they have some kind of interesting pieces here, it looks like, for a lot of different applications, and they did think of quite a bit that is popular in this industry, although I haven't been in it to that degree for many years now. But I do like to see what is new and exciting. And speaking of exciting, check out this entire wall of paper, an 8x8 and 12x12 printed solid and specialty. And the specialty, I would presume, would be things like corrugated metallic paper, mirror card, if that's even still available, I don't know, but it gives a lot of texture and dimension when you have the layering elements. Since I don't purchase new paper that often, I only compare to what I have in my stash from years ago, which is of that higher quality. So those of you who have been working with it in more recent years can say how this has changed the new supply, but to me it's kind of middle of the road. It's not too like cheesy, chintzy thin, and it's not super thick either, but I think it's certainly workable. But I do have quite a good stock left from those days, and it has been really kept well and protected, and it's very clean. So I think at some point I will be listing some and going through in addition to some of my rubber stamps. And whenever I get to that point, can't really say when, just a matter of time. I've been talking about it for several years now, but I will make an announcement on my YouTube channel here, and when I put them in my Etsy shop. Unless someone's interested now, curious what I have, just leave a comment in the comment section and I'll get back with you on that. All right, so now we've got, you can see some foam products on the left. Rounding the other corner, we've got more various odds and ends DIY items. A small, moderate little section of diamond painting there, not a whole lot. There's a ton of t-shirts, pre-made wood items that you can decorate yourself. I used to have fun with that. I always like decoupage. I know one person mentioned that she does. Anybody else into this? What do you do with it? I'm curious. And as I head down to the jewelry section, you see tons and tons of t-shirts where you can just tie-dye your heart out there and do silk screening or whatever you do with yours. At each aisle along this section, until we get over to art supplies, there's quite a variety. There's candle making to the right, paints here, paints on the other side as well. And to the left, there are paint by numbers for both adults and children. And over to the right, a whole entire row of craft kits for children of all ages. Some look really, really fun. The beading kits, looks like maybe something food, more jewelry, all different types. And this is something I'm sure I would have had a great time with when I was a child, and probably even now today. I do not have young children or grandchildren to gift any to, but if I did, they would be in arts and crafts heaven. For the love of beading, here we are, and it looks much the same to me as it did before, maybe scaled down a little bit, but not a tremendous amount. And they still have the jewelry shop findings. These are a little bit better quality than the others, which are really thin plating over base metal, and these are still plated, but I found that they don't discolor or wear down quite as much or as quickly as the ones to the left. I have used these, some for say stitch markers, but for jewelry wearable type items, this is not my go-to, and again, not knocking anyone else, just my own personal preference and what my customers like also. And so they do have a really nice assortment of check glass beads. I did notice that they do not have some of the larger ones that have a little bit larger size hole. Joanne carries them though. And a small variety of some basic tools to go along with your jewelry supplies displays. And on the right there are pendants. There are bezel blanks where you can add whatever materials you like, whether it be beads, photographs, natural stones, and then the optional glass domes that you can glue on top. You can see a pack at the far top left, not quite the variety packs in bulk that they used to have, but at least they still carry some. And now I really meant to look for leather crafting goods for those of you who are curious about it. I'm so sorry. I was so focused on all this and watching the people around me and where I was going and everything. I totally spaced and forgot on that. So I hope you are not too disappointed. All right, so now we're going to move on to the art supplies. Now we are crossing the threshold into the other side of the store, same as what you saw at the beginning when we went through that archway where the clocks were, but this is at the back end. Okay, so right at the beginning of this row, there's some basic games for children, variety of paints, really small amount of wood supplies compared to what I remember not that long ago. And here is a whole section of more advanced educational items, globes, solar system, metal detectors, and on the other side of that were some really low end, what I would describe as five and dime type of little plastic toys, like dinosaurs and things you might find at the low end carnivals. Okay, so here we go. There are some paint brushes here, more on the other side, poster boards, and chalk. Someone had asked about chalk or mentioned chalk. Well, this is what my Hobby Lobby is carrying. Curious what yours got in, if they are still carrying it. This looks like a decent selection. Some primary brights, pastels, and different sizes and shapes. All right, so now we're going to go on to the other side. And oh, look at that. Hobby Lobby carries Ottlight now. Not even close to, I mean, near the selection whatsoever that Joanne carries, and especially online. And Joanne has such phenomenal sales that you can get those wonderful lights at a really excellent price. And the one that I was pointing to, I have that one. I've only used it a couple of times, but I really like it a lot. Won't get into the review here, but you can see just a variety of art supplies, sketch pads, mixed media. There's more on, I believe, the other side, or I think on the right, maybe. I think it is on this aisle. But easels, that is one thing I've noticed that they did cut back on a little bit. I thought they had a bit of an excess of the tabletops before. Some were very redundant and so similar from one to the other, but they have a nice variety, and almost seems like the prices are a little bit less than they were before. I didn't check to see where they were made, but they appeared quite sturdy and versatile. And there you have adult coloring books, a little more upscale in this department. And then, oh, I guess this is where the canvases. The paper was on the other side for drawing, sketching, and then here you have the canvases, different types for different watercolor and acrylic and so forth for different types of painting. And coming around another bend, we have a Lazy Susan, pour paints. This just looks so fun to me. Does anyone out there do pour painting? And if you do you have yours online, Etsy shop? I'd love to take a look. I'm so fascinated by this. I've watched many videos on YouTube. Looks very, very messy, but really a lot of fun if you have an area, garage, some place where you don't mind making a big mess and can stay in a controlled temperature environment. I don't know, I would think that would make a difference working with paints somehow. And then here we have the regular full-size easels there, and a variety of markers and crayon and the wet pen type of things. And then you have framing over here, and it goes back a few aisles, so do it yourself. And then on the far left against the wall, that was their framing department, where they will do custom framing for you. I'm going to do an about face to the section I just walked past where the full-size easels were, so you could see it from a different direction. And then I'm going to catch what was along here. There were people standing there the first time around. Back to the wonderful world of colorful pens, another place where I could totally lose my mind. All right, Master's Touch, so they have that line, and also in the paint brushes, and they had a nice selection when I walked past. And I really like these Micron pens. I used those for years when I had the rubber stamp business and cleaning up and touching up some artwork. And you can get really super, like a 005 fine tip, and they're such good quality and they last a long time. You can really get in and do some detailed work. And I did little bits and pieces of artwork myself, not much. That's why I rubber stamp, because my drawing skills are really not there, but I do decent lettering, and I did some lettering types of rubber stamps and things like seagrass and just kind of basic stuff like that. And that parchment paper I was pointing to, those are some of the types of papers that I have as well, and this is one of my favorites to rubber stamp on. So now we're going back to the next aisle over. They have those coloring books I mentioned, and then straight down the aisle on both sides are the majority of their paint type of supplies. So you have containers and little mixing palettes, and some acrylic paints, and here the majority of the paint brushes, sponges, the little, oh, I forgot what you call the little containers, the little squeeze bottles there. And then on the right side here, they have all the different mediums, like your flow medium and gesso, that type of thing, and then the acrylics and oils and so forth. Okay, everyone, that closes this chapter. I hope you enjoyed the tour of the changes at my Hobby Lobby store. Thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate it, as always. Would love to know what you think and how it compares to yours. And I sure hope you'll come back again next time here at Cabin Fever Crochet, because this sign says it all. You never know what we're going to do here or where we're going to go.